The US Supreme Court has agreed to hear last-ditch legal arguments from TikTok as to why it should not be banned or sold in the country. The US government is taking action against the social media platform because of what it says are links to the Chinese state, which TikTok and its parent company ByteDance have denied. Anupam Chanda is a professor of law and technology at Georgetown University, and he joins me now from London. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
This has really been framed in the media, certainly, as a battle between free speech on one side and national security on the other. Is that the way you understand it?
I think that very much is the case. There is an important First Amendment question, the free speech question raised by both TikTok and TikTok's users. And the government is arguing, actually, whatever the burdens on speech might be, they're justified by the national security concerns we have.
So the 19th of January at the moment is this cut-off date for ByteDance to sell. Why are they resisting that option?
Sure. So it's very hard to separate out, to break off the US TikTok from the rest of the world's TikTok. So it'd be hard for Americans like myself in the United States to communicate with Canadians via TikTok, or Mexicans or Australians via TikTok. There'd have to be two different companies run by two different apps run by two different companies. So it would be a nightmare for users, in fact, to engage in any kind of global speech. And so ByteDance can't really sell off this little part of it. And there's also the thorny problem that China doesn't want them to sell the algorithm. And so that will also be impossible to sell to an American buyer, for example.
These concerns, really stem from concerns about the influence of China and the Chinese Communist Party. Have we seen instances before of Chinese-owned social media companies harvesting user data, using it in ways that governments like the US government may not be happy with?
Sure. So we've certainly seen instances of Chinese entities hacking foreign networks and engaging in surveillance and propaganda across the world. We saw the Russians using propaganda on Facebook in 2016. And so the reality is that all our social media, all our platforms are subjected to this kind of attack by foreigners. The question is, in this case, that the US government says it has no information, and this is quote unquote, no information that the Chinese government has actually manipulated TikTok's platform in the United States for either of these purposes, for either propaganda or surveillance.
The Supreme Court is now hearing these last-ditch legal arguments from TikTok. What options are available to it? It can delay that January 19 deadline. What else could it do?
Well, it can side with TikTok and declare the law unconstitutional. That's what TikTok is asking, and that is the single question that the Supreme Court is entertaining, whether or not the law violates TikTok's and TikTok's users' First Amendment rights. So if that's the case, then the law would not operate at all with respect to TikTok.
Do you think this could just be a case of whack-a-mole, that if TikTok is sold or outlawed, that we would just end up with something, or that America would end up with something similar popping up somewhere else?
It's very hard to stop foreign influence operations. It's very hard to stop foreign surveillance. The United States engages in influence operations and surveillance elsewhere, as the Snowden revelations showed us a decade ago. And so these are the kind of strategies of superpowers today. And so they will pop up elsewhere. And the real question for me and the kind of work that I've done is whether TikTok is really the real vehicle for this kind of espionage. Most of the stuff people do on TikTok is pretty public. And so it's not a secret messaging app. It's not where people share national security secrets generally.
Donald Trump has been really back and forth on his opinion. We know that TikTok, was pretty helpful for him in his election campaign. This current deadline, January 19, is just one day before his inauguration. Is there a possibility that this could all change once he takes office?
So the dynamics might change. The law doesn't change when he takes office, but the dynamics might, which is that his Justice Department may be less vigorous in enforcing the law, and that is a possibility. If he tells Oracle and Google and Apple, hey, you can still continue hosting TikTok on your services, perhaps that convinces them to allow TikTok to go on. As they would prefer, because they earn a lot of money via TikTok, et cetera. At least Oracle does. And so therefore, there is the possibility that he could offer a kind of reprieve. But he can't change the law without getting Congress to change the law.